The cry of mourning swept across Ekom Iman like a storm. From one compound to another, it echoed, piercing through the air, bouncing off the walls, rolling through the palm groves, and fading only to rise again with greater force. Women wailed until their voices cracked, their grief pouring out like rivers after a heavy rain. Children clung to their mothers, eyes wide with fear, while men stood in silence. Their faces were darkened, their heads bowed. The whole village trembled under the weight of sorrow. Some women tore their wrappers in grief, rolled on the ground, beating their chests. Men gathered in small circles under the old palm trees, shaking their heads in silence. One man muttered, "Ah, who would have believed this? That Uwana, our shining star, would go like this?" Another man sighed deeply, his eyes wet with tears. Our people say, when the moon dies, the night loses its beauty. Truly, our moon has fallen. Inside a wooden coffin lay Uwana, the same Uwana whom every young man once fought to marry, the same girl mothers pointed to and told their daughters learn from her. Now she lay still, her skin pale, her beauty faded, her body nothing but like a withered flower. The whole of Ekom Iman stood in shock. "Ah, Uwana, why, my child? Why did you do this to yourself?" An old woman cried, beating her thighs as tears rolled down her cheeks. "A beautiful girl like you, who pushed you into this dark road?" Another woman spat hard on the ground and raised her voice so all the girls around could hear her. "Let this be a lesson. Let no daughter of Ekom Iman follow this path again. Her death should be a warning to you all." The news spread quickly like the harmattan fire carried by the wind. Uwana, the pride of Ekom Iman, the most beautiful girl in the village, is dead. But the whispers followed. How? What happened to her? What killed Uwana? The girl whose beauty turned heads at the market. The girl whose laughter softened even the hardest heart. The girl every mother prayed to have as a daughter or daughter-in-law. This is her story. Uwana was born with a gift that made many hearts restless. She was a beauty to behold. From childhood, people marveled at her. By the time she grew into her teenage years, her beauty shone like the morning sun rising over the hills. Her skin glowed, smooth as fresh palm oil. Her eyes carried a sparkle, bright like dew resting on green leaves at dawn. Men found it hard to look away, while women shook their heads and whispered, "This child will surely bring honor to her family." But beauty like fire is a double-edged gift. It can cook your food, but it can also burn down your house. Uwana's mother never grew tired of warning her. She would sit her down in the evenings and say gently, "Uwana, my daughter, hear me well. A woman's strength is not in her beauty, but in her wisdom. Remember the saying, a pretty face without sense is like a clay pot with no water." But Uwana only laughed off her mother's warning. Tossing her head proudly, she felt her mother's words belonged to the past. To old women who did not know the taste of freedom, she wanted to enjoy life. To dance to the rhythm of the world beyond Ekom Iman. When Uwana turned 18, men started trooping into their compound like bees, chasing after honey. Every day, there was a new face at the gate. Some came with smooth tongues and promises sweeter than palm wine. There were traders with fat pockets, civil servants with polished shoes, and restless young men who only wanted to test her beauty. They came bearing gifts, fine wrappers, shining shoes, earrings of gold. Some pressed money into her hands. Others whisked her off
to parties under the city lights. Each time Uwana stood before her mirror, she would smile at her reflection and whisper to herself, "Uwana, you are too fine to waste time with poor boys." Her friends always clapped their hands and laughed whenever she stepped out in her new clothes. "Babe, enjoy your life," they would say. "Let them spend their money on you. After all, it is your beauty that brought them. Use it well." And so, Uwana listened. She tasted the sweetness of gifts and shut her ears to her mother's quiet warning. Before long, Uwana became the queen of enjoyment. Every weekend, she rode in a different man's car. She wore the latest fashions, her bangles jingling as she passed. In the marketplace, she walked like a peacock, chin lifted, hips swaying, every eye turning to follow her. They say when a woman walks on a slippery path, she must remember the ground is always patient. At first, it was just whispers that moved around the village like smoke. Uwana has changed. The women gossiped as they pounded yam. She now walks with rich men. She no longer greets her elders. But Uwana brushed it off. In her heart, she laughed. "They are only jealous of me. They wish they had what I have," she would say. One afternoon, her childhood friend Emeh returned from the city. She had traveled to learn a trade and now came back with hopes of taking Uwana along. "Come with me," Emeh pleaded. "The city is tough, but at least there you can learn something with your hands. Pride does not cook soup, my sister." But Uwana only smiled proudly, her arms full of gold bangles and her wrapper glittering. "Look at me, Emeh," she boasted. "Do I look like someone who needs to suffer in the city? I have money more than you." Emeh was disappointed. However, she tried again, her voice soft. "Uwana, shine your eyes. Not all that glitters is gold. Follow me. Let us build a future in the city together." However, Uwana turned down the offer. So, Emeh, feeling disappointed, shook her head and traveled back to the city alone. It was not long after that strange things began to trouble Uwana. She noticed first her monthly flow had stopped. It was not the first time though. As usual, she used all the herbs and secret things she knew to end it. But this time, nothing worked. 1 month passed, then 2, then 3. The child inside her continued to grow. Fear gripped her like a cold hand on her neck. Her mind raced. Whose child is this? She asked herself. But no answer came. Too many men had shared her bed. Too many faces. She could not tell which one had planted the seed. Uwana's new companion was a girl called Emeh. They were like birds of the same feather, drawn together by their ways. One evening, Emeh whispered to her, "Do not worry, hide it. Wear big wrappers. When the time comes, I will take you somewhere you can deliver quietly and even sell the child for money." "Sell the child for money?" Uwana was shocked. However, she nodded weakly, holding to their advice, and so the pregnancy grew in silence. But the elders say, pregnancy is like a drum. You cannot hide it under your armpit forever. By the 6th month, her stomach was round and heavy. Fear lived with her. Day and night, she avoided gatherings, walked quietly past neighbors, and kept her eyes low. Then, one evening, something happened that filled her with new hope. A man had returned to the village. His name was Obong. He had lived in Lagos for many years and came back with lots of money, fine clothes, and the boldness of city life. One evening, as he stopped to buy suya at the junction, he noticed Uwana standing nearby. The firelight from the aboki's grill danced on her face, and Ubong could not look away. "You are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen," Ubong told her softly, as they both waited for their meat to be wrapped. Uwana lowered her eyes, but her heart beat faster, like a bird trapped in a calabash. "I want you to be my wife," Ubong continued, his voice firm. At that moment, hope rushed through her veins. This was her chance to cover her shame, her chance to bury the whispers. She forced a smile and nodded in agreement. But deep inside, she knew there was a storm, because in her womb, a secret was still growing, a child whose father she did not even know. By now, Uwana was desperate. Age was catching up with her. In the past, men used to line up with marriage proposals. But for the past 5 years, not a single serious man had asked to marry her. Those who came now only wanted her body, and then they disappeared like smoke in the wind. Shame weighed on her shoulders. The growing pregnancy became a chain she wanted to break free from. So, one evening, she went to a local herbal woman in a far-off village. The old woman looked at her and sighed, then mixed a black potion and handed it over with some roots. "Take this," she said, "and the child will come out." That night, Uwana sat in the corner of her room, trembling as she swallowed the bitter mixture. Hours later, pain gripped her like fire. It tore through her stomach and spread through her bones. She bit her lips hard to stop herself from screaming. Blood flowed, sweat drenched her wrapper. Her hands clutched her mat tightly. She prayed in silence, "God, let no one see me this way." But the pains did not subside. Days turned into weeks. Her body became weak. Her once glowing skin turned pale. Her face leaned. She could not eat. Yet, whenever people asked, "Uwana, are you well?" she forced a smile and lied. "I'm fine," she would say. But inside, she was dying slowly. So, one evening, as her mother entered the room, she found her crawling on the floor, shivering like a leaf under rain. Panic filled the old woman's eyes. With help, they rushed her to the hospital. After the scan, the doctor came out, shaking his head. His words were heavy as stone. "It is too late, madam," he said. "Her womb is destroyed. The infection has spread. She may not survive it." Tears flowed like heavy rain. Uwana lay weak on the hospital bed, her breath shallow, her voice fading. "Mama, please forgive me," she whispered. "I only wanted to cover my shame." Her mother knelt beside her, holding her cold hand, crying until her eyes were swollen. "My child," she sobbed, "did I not warn you? Did I not tell you that a woman who eats every fruit in the basket will one day bite the rotten one?" By morning, Uwana's lights went out. At just 33 years old, her journey had ended. When the news spread to Ekom Iman, the whole village gathered. Women wailed, beating their chests, some cursing her fate. "What a waste! What a shame!" they cried. Others spat on the ground and muttered, "Sophia, let this be a warning to every girl who thinks beauty alone is enough." Ubong, the man who once promised her marriage, vanished like smoke. No one ever saw him again. On the day of her burial, as they lowered Uwana's coffin into the red earth, an old woman stepped forward. She shook her head and spoke in a voice heavy with wisdom. "The road you choose when the sun is shining is the same road you will walk when the rain begins to fall." And so ended the story of Uwana, the girl whose beauty once lit the village, but whose choices left only tears behind. The lesson here is the decisions you make today will shape the life of tomorrow. No secret stays hidden forever, and a girl who values gifts more than dignity will one day pay a painful price. Beauty is a gift, but without wisdom, it becomes a trap. And a girl who trusts her dignity for money and gift is truly selling her future. And remember, no secret stays hidden forever. To every young girl listening to this story, do not waste your tomorrow by chasing today's pleasures. Do not trade your crown of dignity for temporary gifts. Remember, when the drum is sweet, the dancer must still know when to stop. If you were in Uwana's shoes, what choice would you have made differently? Drop your answer in the comments. I love to hear from you. And please, don't keep this story to yourself. Share it so that others can learn before it is too late. If you enjoyed this story, remember to like, subscribe, and stay with us for more inspiring African stories that carry wisdom and truth. Until next time, remain blessed. Bye.